We're back with another episode of the Lockdown Lowdown, and today we have an author, a SAICA judge, an entrepreneur, and above all else, an intrinsic leader who helps develop C-level people's soft skills to deliver the speech they've always wanted to. We have Dineshrie Pillay. Thank you, Dineshrie, for being here today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, this is awesome. As always, we always have a little conversation before we start the record button, so it was actually quite cool just to get to know you a little bit better, and I feel like this is going to be a great conversation, just because I think we align, and everyone watching, when you do have the chance after this, we'll put Dineshrie's LinkedIn profile below. I advise you all to go to go read her about. It's very, very poignant for how I'm dealing with the situation with the lockdown. But before we jump into that, can you just tell us a little bit more about Neospectives, your consulting firm?
Sure, this is a business that I started just over 11 years ago. And Neospectives, out of interest, is just a derivative of two names, two words. Neo in Latin means new, and perspective.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I love giving leaders in business new perspectives about themselves, about their position in society, and about what they can ultimately aim to achieve, not only in their own world, but with people all around them.
I think that's great. Is there, do you have anyone competing against you doing this? It's the first I've heard of something like this.
Well, there's plenty of people in the field of leadership.
Yeah.
And I think there's various ways of channeling training interventions. So yes, there's plenty of people offering courses and seminars and workshops, and there's books on leadership. So in the field of that leadership aspect, there are plenty of competitors out in the market.
So then what could you say in one sentence that describes your USP, your unique selling proposition? What is it that Neospectives does that no one else does in the field that you work in?
Sure. So I believe that within every person is a leader waiting to be awakened. And I love working with people to awaken that leader. And I do that through experimenting with my own life. So I go out, I do things, I create myself as this role model. I use my formal qualifications of a chartered accountant and fellow chartered management accountant as my formal business qualification to steer leaders in business. I am an accredited coach myself and soon to be internationally accredited, so
Brilliant.
I'm just completing a few things on that. And I use coaching tools in my one-on-one discussions to actually awaken that leader within. And apart from that, I speak on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So through forms of video training like this, or workshops or conferences, I use that as a tool to awaken the leader within, because I really believe, once I instill in someone that leadership awakening, then that person can impact many people around them. And I use the word leader frivolously. You could be a leader in your household, in your community, because you're the first person in your community to actually become qualified. And when I awaken that individual, then they can inspire many more people around that. And so it's a pay-forward type of methodology.
It's brilliant. I think I can just visualizing how I myself in life have been impacted by leaders before me when I was a kid, when I was in school, and then how those lessons stay ingrained with me, and then those lessons manifest, and I relearn those lessons or learn new lessons, and as I do consider myself a leader, but then teach those onto someone. So I can see the multiplier effect here in action. It's really profound, because I think that's really lovely and poetic what you say. There's a leader dormant inside of us all, in which you have the skills to awaken. I think that's a really cool premise for a book. I don't know if you've ever written one, but it's what I might think you should try to do. What's really cool about what you just said, Dineshrie, is that there's leaders all around us that impact our lives. And only when someone says that do I realize how many I've actually come into contact with, and we've actually helped guide my own life and my own lessons, and continue to do that. And I really think that whole idea of having one dormant inside of you and your skills and your abilities to awaken that it's a really clever idea for a book. I don't know if you've thought about that.
Actually, my first book is entitled that, The Contract with Yourself, because I believe that we all have so many contracts that we so willingly sign, bond agreements, bank agreements, rental agreements, installment agreements. But when do you have a contract with yourself?
Yeah.
And you commit yourself to certain outcomes? And that's actually the first book, because I believe that before you lead other people, you first need to lead yourself. And that's my first book. My second book that I've just completed, and it's going into edits right now, is on presentation skills. So exactly how to teach people to present in all forms, all mediums, so that they can take their message of their own leader within and use presentation as a means of inspiring and passing that message on.
Excellent. I'm going to be definitely asking you for some tips after this video. Don't be afraid to jump in if you think I could improve on something. I'm always open to constructive criticism. I think those are really cool books. We'll definitely put everything below so you guys can, whoever's watching and listening, can go and see and read it for themselves. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, Dineshrie. So you spoke a little bit earlier about the fact that you're helping develop these skills through digital means. Obviously, with the lockdown, you can't physically go and help face to face. How have you found adapting to this more digital stream of your service?
I think it's absolutely phenomenal what a person can do when you're almost tied to a corner, your back is against a wall as such. You're forced to actually come up with solutions, and that's what I have done. So personally, I reached out to my clients and I asked them, what are your current challenges as a leader in business? How are you finding the lockdown right now? What are some of your concerns when it comes to integrating with your employees and your direct reports remotely? And I also got in touch with lecturers, asking them what are some of their challenges trying to guide their students through a tough curriculum in the first semester. And what they came up with was topics. They just gave me their challenges and I turned those challenges into topics. So within about 5 days, I came up with just over 30 small YouTube videos. Brilliant. And I put them on my YouTube.
Okay.
And directed people to watch the videos via LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp. So I sent the links to people on WhatsApp. And I'm still busy completing videos. So, with the extension of the lockdown, over the weekend, people have still been sending me topics. Well, I don't want topics. They're giving me challenges. I'm turning it into topics. And that's really how I've been communicating with my clients and making sure that they have the tools and the confidence to continue being the leader that they are in these challenging times.
That's excellent. I think what you've just hit on as a digital agency as DarkMatter is the power of creating content, right? The power of taking, like you say, a challenge, turning that into a topic, and then being able to readily create a video or recording to get people to engage and go beyond that challenge, that mindset, and think, how do I tackle this? How do I learn from this? I think this has definitely been a very important time for digital applications to become the tools they could always be. Going beyond a superficial level of just becoming a means of showing off yourself, I think in a very, I say that in a negative sense, but now you can show off your ability, which is the need, because work hasn't stopped. So something like Zoom, which we're using currently, is just a great and effective way to have this conversation, now share it with everyone. So I completely agree with what you said, and I'd love to watch some of those YouTube videos after this.
Out of interest, so it's important for me not to give the same information to all those channels. So I've sort of used Twitter and LinkedIn for the business-related topics, and my Facebook and my Instagram for fitness and diet.
Okay, cool.
So I'm very big on fitness and keeping fit, especially in times of lockdown. So if you see some of my recent Instagram posts, I changed it to share with people what my diet has been.
Yeah.
Some of the interesting ways I've been cooking and making unique salads by using limited ingredients, because I want to inspire people to live healthy and use this opportunity to really reflect on themselves and to make different decisions regarding their fitness, their lifestyle, and themselves. So Instagram, if you look at some of those posts, it's completely different to the LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more professional business.
I think that's the right way to do it, though. You should break those things up into different silos because they each have a different narrative, correct? So now that you can actually talk to people across a spectrum of different pillars almost in their lives. So you have the professional, you then have the health and wellness, you then have almost like the Facebook would be the personal touch of the relaxation, showing more of your comedic side, you know, like letting your hair down, so to speak. So I think that is the right way to use it. And I think many business owners and entrepreneurs can take lessons from that. Is each of these platforms has a different narrative or a different way in which it can transport the message to its audience. So
Absolutely.
Well done in identifying that. I just want to, as you've been, you know, you're a notable professional and you've worked in different spaces with your qualifications. How do you think the impact of the lockdown and COVID-19 is gonna? What do you think it's gonna have on the South African landscape as a whole, as a business, on a business side?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge shift. You know, I read somewhere, I think it was one of the coaches from Action Coach. He delivered sort of like a webinar, and in there he spoke about the elastic band effect. And simply what that means is when you stretch an elastic band and you sort of keep it in that position for a long enough time, when you do let go, that elastic band never comes back to where it used to be. And that's really what has happened with lockdown. After people working from home, having flexible hours and showing the ability that work can still continue, and that elastic band has been held for that amount of time, it can't go back to normal. So I see flexible working hours being more of a norm. I definitely see more of a shift to collaboration, because people now have been forced to think outside of themselves and to sort of look around them to ask, who can help me? Who can I work with? How can I take my one idea and get it out as soon as possible? So more smaller businesses will be working with each other rather than on their own. And I also see a lot of people just looking at technology and the way it's going to be used and upgrading that technology to keep up with the world that we're living in.
I think collaboration is a very, very good identification of what needs to happen, because this wouldn't happen unless we wanted to collaborate and have a conversation. And I think that analogy of the elastic band really, that succinctly just defines it and shows how this problem is going to maintain, essentially. I think this is almost like the perfect entry into the gig economy. I'm sure that's something you've heard before, and many of our listeners have, where we're shifting to this world where corporations are not necessarily hiring people because it's going to be more effective to have freelancers on your books. You know, the cost involved of having 100 desks, 100 chairs, stocking the coffee and the tea, all of those things are additional costs. And I think, you know, as much as it does suck, at the end of the day, business is looking at its bottom line, which I feel will also inverse. I feel businesses may not just look at the intrinsic value of their profit and loss and actually look at the well-being of their people. I know I read this on your LinkedIn. It's not about counting the numbers of the people, it's to help the people become more accountable in their own lives.
True. Yes. And for that, in terms of helping people to become accountable for their own lives, I'm hoping that everyone that's watching this and everyone who doesn't watch this could actually share this message on. This time of lockdown allows for much more accountability. because now you don't have the excuses of being in traffic, having to work long hours, having to juggle so many things, in terms of work and everything else that happens in a day. You are at home and you are in your own environment. And every day you can be accountable to yourself and what it is that you wish to achieve with your own life. And whether that means waking up late in the day and missing out on the opportunities, or waking up early and being accountable for what happens in that day, whatever you do right now is going to dramatically shift and transform how you're going to live from the point of now and onwards. And accountability is that one trait that people can use to actually reinvigorate themselves and create themselves again.
And it starts with that contract with yourself, right? So only once you've signed that deal, you're then accountable to uphold what you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So let's just jump into what you're just saying now. What is your routine? What is your routine during lockdown? Has anything changed? Have you become more accountable? Are you waking up earlier? What do you do, Dineshrie?
I have always woken up early in the morning. I'm an early waker. I wake up before everyone else wakes up, and I take advantage of the day. So I sleep for as long as I need to sleep, which is 6 hours at the minimum. And that's it. So 5:15 is when I wake up, and I train for an hour. I do 4 kilometers running around the perimeter of my house, and I have been rigid at that, and it won't stop. I still maintain my healthy eating. I still maintain my discipline of my work. Yes, I have the ability to actually watch television, because now no one wants to do workshops. No one wants to have face-to-face interactions. So I could choose to do that, but I don't, because I know that the discipline has already been inculcated within me. So why should I stop now? I don't believe in sleeping. If you give me 4 weeks to sleep, I'll probably rest for 1 or 2 or 3 days, and then I'm like, I'm bored. I need to do something.
You get up and do it. Go make it happen.
Absolutely. So my routine is getting up in the morning. I train. I then, walk my dog around. I play with him, and then I get to work. I have my meals during the course of the day. I interact with my clients, do my social media posts, and whatever else I set myself out to achieve. If I have a full day of coaching my clients, then that's what I do. I coach my clients, and that's when I start listening in. Something else that I have been doing in this time is offering much more complimentary coaching sessions for people who do take packages with me. And what I find those complimentary sessions doing is it's giving me that means to helping someone else. Yes, it's my own time. Yes, it's not paid, but that fulfillment that I get after those complimentary sessions, where a person just looks at me and says, wow, thank you. I'm so glad I spoke to you today. I had no idea that this is all the other considerations I need to make in terms of this important decision. And I love those conversations, because I go to bed at night thinking, I made a difference in someone else's life. I made a difference in someone else's future trajectory. If it wasn't for that conversation, they would have went down a different path. And that's really my routine. If I can go to bed every night knowing that someone has watched my YouTube video, someone has read something on my social media, someone has interacted with me on a coaching session, and that interaction changed their way they think. And as a result of that, they do things differently. Then I know my day is fulfilled.
Well, I have to then say that you fulfilled your routine today, because me just getting to meet you afforded this opportunity. You've made an impact on me. And this is just through the digital conversation, the 20 minutes or so that we've shared right now. So I can only imagine the impact that you've had over years of working with someone. So I just want to say thank you so much for just sharing yourself and just discussing who you are and what you do and why you do it. I think that's the key. What you've just spoken of now is that your routine is your why. At the end of the night, you know that you've done what you set out to do, and that is impact and positively change someone's life. So I just want to say thank you for that. For everyone listening here, how do they get in contact with you, Dineshrie? How do they find out about Neospectives?
Oh, so the easiest way is through my social media platforms. All my social media platforms is in my personal name. So it's Dineshrie Pillay. You'll find me on YouTube under that name, LinkedIn under that name, Twitter, Instagram, and also on Facebook. My website is dineshriepillay.com, and on there is a contact sheet. You can get in contact with me directly, and that will come to me, and they can connect with me via any of those channels.
Excellent. And you're obviously doing all the connections via digital services like Zoom. So for anyone listening who wants to get that inspiration, who wants to develop their soft skills, who wants to go out there and seize the day and become the leader that they know they are inside, Dineshrie Pillay is here to help you do that. We will have all the details with you when we launch this video, or effectively you're watching the video, so it's going to be below. But yeah, I just want to say one last time, thank you so much, Dineshrie, for being with us today. I found that super insightful, and just I think your honesty of what you're doing and how you're doing it. I'm definitely excited to come do a workshop with you once the lockdown is done.
My pleasure. Why wait for that? I'll offer you one of those complimentary sessions as well. Just
brilliant. Let's do it. Yeah.
This platform. So let's just do it. And I'd like to thank you, Angus. So I was very inspired to be part of this process, because I'm inspired by people like yourself who take the initiative to create platforms like this, to instill change, to motivate people, to inspire people, and to make them think differently of what a situation is or is not. And that was more than enough reason for me to come on board and be part of your project. So from me to you, thank you for creating this platform and for allowing people like myself to share this message of hope, because that's what we're here to do, is to spread hope and spread this goodness that we are, and to help each other through this situation.
Well, thank you very much. This kind of idea wouldn't exist without people like yourself. So on that, I send back the thanks. And I can't wait to kick off our next conversation. But for everyone listening, this has been another episode of the Lockdown Lowdown with Dineshrie Pillay. I implore you to all check out what she is doing. And until then, I'll see you guys at the next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.